Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Welcome to Doug in Exile. If you're a happy patriot, then you came to the right place. If you want to be terrified and just hear a bunch of tabloid crap that's going to get you angry, that's probably rooted in lies and probably will go nowhere in the news cycle, go somewhere else. That's not what we do here. This is only about the facts, ways that we can help MAGA go forward, the Trump agenda go forward, and save America. That's my bias. That's my agenda, to save America. And part of that is to destroy the Democrat Party. That's part of how you save America. America would be doing fine if you literally just remove the Democrat Party away. Then politically everything would be solved. Now we still have a repentance problem. Everyone's got to repent. Getting rid of Democrats, the good Democrat Party doesn't do that. But it saves the republic, keeps the electricity on, keeps the toilets flushing, and buys us a little more time so that we can repent. Welcome. I'm checking in on the chat right now. I see a ton of you coming in. Good morning. I have the greatest audience in the world. I check your messages. I believe we have one of the highest message return rates on any channel where we actually answer. We certainly read them all. Many of them will get a thumbs up or a heart or an answer. If you want to hear from us, leave a message. We give a priority to subscribers and we give a higher priority to members. So there are members that will tend to get more responses. That's not a threat. It's just how we prioritize things around here. Memberships are open right next to the join button. No pressure. I'm not here trying to get people to buy stuff they can't afford. I am here to tell you that over the weekend, the Democrat Party is done, but specifically Chuck Schumer's career is dead. He's been exposed as a fraud for all the big victory lap of the Mom Donnie, the election last week. That news cycle is done. We just stepped all over it. And the government's going to open back up again because 8 Democrats defected. Remember what I've said? And I think we all understand the wisdom behind this. I think you all know this too. You all believe this also. You need to unite our side and divide the other side. So the Democrats, 8 of them, peeled off and voted with Trump. We got 8 of them. We're going to go into that in just a second. More greetings from you guys. Come on in. Give us a thumbs up. Tell us where you're from and that you're here in the chat. And in the meanwhile, we'll watch this clip together.
I don't want to land at an airport in the United States with a sleepy air traffic controller because they're working double shifts. So
this is Angus King, by the way, one of the Democrats that flipped sides. So, and we're flying out to Colorado for Thanksgiving. We were having to rearrange our plans. There's going to be a tweet later in this episode where Trump is saying that we should pay the air traffic controllers that agreed to stay on and not get paid. We're going to pay them a $10,000 bonus. We'll get to that tweet later in the show.
Any good general, if the strategy isn't working, you change tactics. And particularly you change tactics if your own troops are at risk. And that's really what's happening here. There was collateral damage to the American people. At the same time, the goal wasn't being achieved. So we're going to change. We're going to change the narrative. And now we have a guaranteed vote within the next month on the ACA tax credits.
By the way, they didn't just, before the negotiation wasn't just that they wanted a vote on the Affordable Care Act tax credits. Before, they wanted Trump to preemptively pass and fund the Affordable Care Act tax credits. That is, they wanted him to pay for it. Now they're just going to vote for it within the month. And Republicans are not going to vote for this thing. They're going to vote no. So they agreed to bring it up in a vote. It's a huge win. This is all win for Republicans. The only loser was the last 40 days, the voters, especially the poor, learned that Democrats are stupid. Now, my mom talked to me and she talked about my aunt, who's a Democrat. My aunt said that it was Trump's fault that the government was closed and she couldn't believe how bad Trump was. You know, for some Democrats, there's no curing a religious cult. And the Democrat Party is a religious cult. If your friends are going Trump, could have opened the government. And now we show that Trump basically went, and the Democrats, 8 of them came over, they opened the government. It was the Democrat Party that was keeping it closed and preventing SNAP benefits to the poor. So the Democrats, your entire party, that's like 80 million Americans caught in a lie. That's why Chuck Schumer's career is over. And these Democrats are basically, all of my clips are about Democrats complaining and realizing they're saying it's our fault, we're stupid, and we're done punishing the poor.
Drafted by the Democrats that the majority leader has agreed to bring to the floor. That's a big deal, and it gives us a chance to put the Republicans to the test. Are you going to work with us on this issue or not? In the midst of the shutdown, they just weren't talking.
So Bernie Sanders and other progressive leaders have said that that you and other moderates that have voted to reopen the government going to cause great damage to the Democratic Party, and many will see it as a betrayal, and that
it's a betrayal. You're damaging the party by being normal. I saw another tweet earlier. They go, literally the only sane Democrat is Fetterman, and he literally is the only Democrat that has actual brain damage. That is, a brain damaged Democrat, a Democrat who's full of betrayal, will actually do good things, is what they're saying.
Voters will remember next November. What do you say to Bernie Sanders?
Well, I think what I'm saying is, what was your strategy, man? What was your end game?
Yeah, shred your own party. Good, get him. Kick Bernie Sanders harder. Harder. Worse.
Extend the shutdown another week, another month,
You
through
have no plan.
Christmas, Thanksgiving. Is that going to get us anywhere? The point is, there never was an end game if the initial strategy didn't work.
Now, Senator Angus King is a Democrat. I mean, not a Democrat. He's an independent. So for him, it's not going to cost him anything in the party, but he always votes with Democrats. So.
And now we have one. We're going to have, as I say, a guaranteed vote on the ACA, and it may not succeed. I grant that.
Yeah, it's not going to succeed. Here we go. Here are the rhinos of the Democrat Party. These are their backstabbing traitors, and I appreciate them for having half a brain. Here they are. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, that's from Nevada. Dick Durbin, John Fetterman, Maggie Hassan, Senator Tim Kaine, Angus King, Jackie Rosen, Democrat, Nevada, and Jeanne Sheehan from New Mexico. So these might be the more purple states. I'm especially surprised to see Senator Tim Kaine, who ran as, what's her face's vice president. Was that Hillary Clinton's vice? Yeah, was Tim Kaine.
But a reasonable chance, 10, 20%, 30%, is a lot better than 0%, which is where we were as of yesterday morning. So I understand everybody wants to stand up to Donald Trump. Everybody wants to deal with the ACA tax credits. I do too. The question is this the right tool to do it? And
very well said. The tool, Luke, the job is they're supposed to come together as a body, debate it, and vote on it. And that's what's going to happen in a month. Now, the ACA may go down and not get funded, and Barack Obama is going to be so embarrassed when we realize he lied to everyone about the affordability of the Affordable Care Act. Remember, anytime a Democrat names something, it's a lie. If it's called the Unaffordable Care Act, it is unaffordable. It does not care. It's the Unaffordable Doesn't Care Act. Anytime they name something, call it the opposite, and it'll be more accurate, because they're trying to snow you and gaslight you, even with the naming of all their fake news stuff. That's just how it goes. Now we're going to get some Mike Johnson going. Victory lap for the greatest speaker we've ever had. Anyone who tells you different is lying. Speaker Mike Johnson, who held firm with Trump. Now, he should telling Thune to overturn the filibuster, but he held firm with the narrow majority. And once again, without giving up one item, we won. We'll give you the list of some of the negotiating terms, but
The Senate will be back in session this morning to finish their job, and we're certainly praying that they do. They'll need unanimous consent from all senators to fast-track their final vote. As you know, there are some procedural hurdles that one or more could throw in the way, but we certainly hope that they won't do that because so many people across this country are desperate for the government to reopen. At the very moment that they do that final vote, I will call all House members to return to Washington as quickly as possible. We'll give a 36-hour formal and official notice so that we can vote as soon as possible to pass the amended CR bill and get it to the president's desk. As you all know, and he said as recently as last night, I was with him, and he told the press, he said,
Hey, look, here you go. Mike Johnson must go. Wrong, wrong. Whoever's telling you he must go is lying to you. He's the best. He's the best with the narrowest margin, and he's MAGA. So I'm not anti-MAGA. I'm not against Trump's agenda. I am for Trump's agenda, especially in calling Speaker Mike Johnson the greatest Speaker of the House we've ever had. Now, here's the actual terms of the deal. This is a little bit of bad news on this is what we had to agree to for the Democrats to open the government up. Okay. Here's the proposal. Fund the government until January 31st, 2026, less than 3 months. So we're right back where we are today in 3 months, which was going to happen no matter what. Even if the Democrats funded this thing 40 days ago, it was only going to go to the middle of November this month in 1 week, in a few days, 1 week. And we'd be right back to debating this thing. So the Democrats can shut the government down again in 3 months. Vote on, because we still have to get an ongoing budget. And I don't think Democrats are going to do it in an election year, but we'll see. Vote on the Affordable Care Act subsidies in December of 2025. So that's coming next month, which is fine. Republicans better vote no on that thing. Reverse layoffs of Fed workers. So this is someone there said, didn't Trump start laying off Fed workers? And this is said that they're going to reverse every Fed worker that got laid off since October 1st. So that's since the shutdown, they have to hire them back. So this is anti-Doge. Full year funding for veterans, which I don't think anyone has a problem with. Fund the veterans for a year, even beyond our budget, and full year funding for SNAP. So that keeps them from being involved in the politics of this thing of saying that you're shutting it down and harming the poor. When the Democrats try to shut the government down again in January, they won't be able to say that. Should Republicans accept the Dem deal to pass a $2 trillion deficit Biden era CR? So these are all the fiscal conservatives like the Thomas Massey types, and they hate Mike Johnson. And they're putting him in the same bucket as McConnell and Thune. And I love Mike Johnson. I don't love McConnell and Thune, although I have some respect for Thune. This is my friend Erica Shelton. We went to college together. I follow her on Twitter. Fully funding SNAP and reversing Fed layoffs is a non-starter. So she's one of those fiscal, more Rand Paulian types who is not for fully funding SNAP because that allows illegal aliens to get their SNAP funds. So that's where the fiscal conservatives go. But I think Trump needs the win. I think we need to open the government back up. We'll argue it more later. Here's more. This is CNN's take on what a massive embarrassment and loss this is for the Democrats.
And also on the policy itself, this bill would extend government funding through January 30th. It also would reinstate federal workers who they say were improperly fired by the Trump administration, and also prevent future federal firings as well, and ensure that those food stamp benefits, also known as SNAP, would continue to flow to those 42 million Americans who are starting to see those benefits dry up. And perhaps most importantly, for the hundreds of thousands of federal employees who have been furloughed, they will go back to work in a matter of days once this does become law, and eventually get their back pay after missing paycheck after paycheck during this very damaging 40-day government shutdown.
Because
so
of the
when will this
Democrats.
all end, Jessica? We still don't have the precise timing of that. We do expect that procedural vote to happen tonight. That would require 60 votes. We do expect enough Democrats, I am told, to get the 60 votes necessary.
They did.
To
They
go to
got
the
their
next
eight.
step. But then they need to reach some sort of agreement to speed up the final vote. Could that happen tonight? Maybe. That could also be delayed to sometime middle of the week. And also, the House of Representatives has been out of session since September 19th. And they have to come back into session in order to vote on the final passage of this bill. That decision to keep the House out of session by the Speaker of the House to pressure Democrats to back their plan, the Republican plans. Ultimately, the House will have to come back into session, bless this plan, goes to the president's desk. So we're still a couple of days away, likely. To the
Man, those House of Reps that have to fly in from their home state, if air traffic controllers were shut down, they'd have to go through our airports. They couldn't even get back to Washington to vote unless they open the government back up. Now here's another. So we've already gone to one side of the House, Chuck Schumer, whose career is over. Here's Hakeem Jeffries. Christine Welker completely slams, eviscerates him. Here's the sleepy-eyed. This man's dead inside. I just watched Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein last night. I think it was on Netflix or something. But this guy is a reanimated body. Look at his eyes. Those are like Quint. He goes, with eyes like a doll's eyes. Ooh, they roll wide. Look at that. Those are dead eyes.
Leader Jeffries, Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer did make a new offer, effectively saying, let's extend Obamacare subsidies for 1 year in exchange for reopening the government for 1 year. You have said that you would support that proposal, but just last month you said this. Take a look.
A 1 year extension of the Affordable Care Act tax credits is not acceptable. It's a non-starter.
Non-starter, and he just accepted it.
It's a non-starter.
This is Meet the Press calling him a liar.
So, Leader Jeffries, what changed?
My underwear.
Well, the proposal that I was making reference to in October was something that was floated out there by a handful of rank and file House Republicans, and that was immediately rejected by House Republican leadership because they have no interest in driving down the high cost of living for everyday Americans. The Schumer proposal, of course, was offered in good faith.
Okay. In other words, rules for thee, but not for me. What do you guys say to that? Are you buying any of this stuff from the Democrats? Are you on board with this? Look at that. Got a new member here. Christopher Rintel, thank you. Welcome. Welcome to the club, to the greatest community on the internet. I have the nicest people. Look at you guys all talking to each other. You got to keep each other company. Some people are watching this show and they're living alone. Reach out to each other. Be the human being in someone else's life through the chat. That's all we get sometimes. Here's more massive admittal that the Democrats are completely lost on this one. All of the criticisms here are coming from Democrats.
Pennsylvania. Congressman Boyle, thanks so much. I saw your statement on this deal, such as it is. I think you said you were a hell no on the deal.
Congressman Boyle from Pennsylvania. So he's at odds with Fetterman. He's a big hell no on this thing, and he's angry that his party gave in and started giving the poor people food.
Oh, you know, no way to sugarcoat it, I guess. Can you explain how you interpret why this deal came together now, a few days after this blowout election where Democrats seem to be taking a victory lap, well, literally taking a victory lap, or at least had a victory? Why now would Democrats in the Senate decide to lay down their arms, you know, potentially end this shutdown, when the terms that are being offered by Republicans don't seem to have changed?
Yeah, the terms are the same. In other words, we didn't budge. They blinked.
I can't explain it because, to be frank, to me, it makes absolutely no sense. I am completely perplexed by today's developments, or really the developments of the last few hours.
We've been perplexed by the Democrats for years.
On Tuesday, we essentially had the proof that the American people overwhelmingly were on the Democrats' side of this argument.
He's talking about the Tuesday blowout election, that he says that's about the people blaming Republicans for the shutdown.
Polls have been showing for weeks, over a month, that a pretty large number of Americans were with us. But people always question about the validity of polls. Where here we had on Tuesday the ultimate poll, and Democrats won everywhere. I mean, I'll take Pennsylvania.
Not everywhere in Democrats' strongholds.
Yeah, for example, every competitive race or race that thought was going to be competitive, we won by double digits. We won in Clearfield County, a place that had not elected a Democrat in over a decade and that Donald Trump had carried by more than 50 points. That's how sweeping the victory was on Tuesday. So it's pretty clear that, we went to the polls. The American people understood that Republicans were making their costs go up, that Democrats were fighting to bring costs down and fight to save the health care of the.
I'm just laughing at this guy. These are lies. More lies coming, but first, this is the best news, guys. For those of you who stayed this long in the show, you're about to get the biggest reward. Are you ready for a piece of candy? You've been good little boys and girls, and so now you get a reward. Here's a little piece of candy for you. Monica Crowley, the truth about the 2020 election is coming. Remember, she's the ambassador and chief of protocol of the United States, former assistant secretary of Treasury. She works for the government, for the Trump administration, followed by Kash Patel. The truth about the 2020 election is coming. Thank you, Monica Crowley. And then she says, buckle up. We're going to go into a little more of this real quick. Here's Ed Martin. Who's Ed Martin? He's got the official gray check mark there on Twitter. That means he's an official government agent. It says special attorney addressing mortgage fraud by public officials for the Justice Department under leadership of the great Pam Bondi. Everyone who says that she should step down, they're probably not telling you the truth. Ed Martin says, breaking, President Trump pardoned all of the 2020 alternative electors. Thank you, President Trump, for allowing me as U.S. pardon attorney to work with the White House. And this is not done by an auto pen, guys. Along with AG Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, and John Sauer. To achieve your and John Sauer, who's arguing before the Supreme Court. He's the guy with this voice right here. To achieve your intent, let their healing begin. Federalist number 74. Now, here's the actual legal document. Let's get in on this thing a little bigger. Granting pardons, this proclamation ends the grave national injustice perpetrated upon the American people. Remember, these people just had a free speech right to advance their political theory that was presented by John Eastman, who I followed. He used to be on a weekly guy on the Hugh Hewitt show. Back in 2001, I followed John Eastman's career. He has personally emailed me right around that 2020 January 6th happening. I had emailed him and talked to him. He was very kind. Following the 2020 presidential election and continue the process of national reconciliation acting pursuant to the grant of authority in Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution of the United States. Donald J. Trump, I do hereby grant a full, complete, and unconditional pardon to all United States citizens for conduct related to the advice, creation, organization, execution, submission, support, voting, activities, participation in, or advocacy for, which is just free speech, guys, advocacy for, or of any slate or proposed slate of presidential electors, whether or not recognized by any state or state official. This is important. Trump's not going to throw them under the bus and make them pay a price. He's protecting them, their opinion and their speech for backing him up when many of them have lost their careers, right? This includes, but is not limited to, so any list of other people that someone could go against Trump is pardoned. I'm not going to name all of these. I'm just going to name the ones that I recognize. Christina Bobb, Joseph Brennan, Carol Bruner, Daryl Carson, Brad Carver, Robert Cheeley, Kenneth Cheeseborough. These are the ones that Fani Willis went after. Pardon. Jeffrey Clark. Who else we have? Oh, there's John Eastman, the lawyer, John Eastman. Jenna Ellis, who plead out, she and Sidney Powell plead out of their deal with Fani Willis. And Trump's not vindictive. He still pardoned crying Jenna Ellis, who became a never Trumper in the last election. Very pro DeSantis. Boris Epstein. Who else we have? Carolyn Fisher. Harrison Floyd. We've had him on the show. The great Harrison Floyd, also out of Atlanta, Georgia. See, this show, we cover the need to know stuff, guys. I don't have these irrelevant people that get a lot of clicks on the show. I get the people that are actually in the president's circle. Rudy Giuliani, America's mayor. Rudy Giuliani pardoned. John Haggard. There's David Hanna, Mark Hennessy. Who else do we have here? Andrew Mitt, Jake Hoffman. Excuse me. There's Timothy King. Oh, Stephen Lee, Michael Lundgren, Mark Meadows. He was a big one. Who else do we have here? Sidney Powell is on here, the Kraken. James Renner. Oh, those are the only ones I really... David Schaefer. Those are the only ones I really recognize. And here's the end of the list. Robert Spindell, Sean Still, Ken Thompson, Kelly Ward. She's one of our gals. Kelly Ward, we love. Michael Ward. This pardon does not apply to the President of the United States, Donald Trump. So he has not pardoned himself on this one. The Attorney General, acting through the pardon attorney, shall administer the issuance of certificates of pardon of eligible applicants. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand this 7th day of November in the year of our Lord, 2025, and of the independent of the United States of America, the 250th Donald Trump. Now, do you guys support this? Is there anyone out there that thinks, is he abusing his presidential power of pardons? Because you already know that's what the Democrats are going to say. That's what the rhinos are going to say, going, this is ridiculous. He can't do this. Yes, he can. If you don't like it, amend the Constitution. If you don't like it, amend the Constitution or shut up. Biden can pardon anyone he wants for any reason. My only beef is that he didn't pardon him because he's a zombie and they ran the auto pen. That does not reflect his will. That's my argument against his pardons. And that's the only argument against it. It's a plenary power. Biden can say, I pardon Al Capone. I pardon Charlie Manson. He can pardon anyone he wants for any reason. It's a plenary power. You either have to vote and take it away or let it ride. And if you let it ride on Biden, let it ride on Trump. He can pardon anyone he wants. You guys are coming in. Fauci. You guys are mentioning Fauci. There's end the filibuster. Yeah, pardon the filibuster. Let's do a presidential pardon on that. You guys are overwhelmingly supporting this. Great to hear from you. Biden pardoned everyone but himself. He actually did not pardon everybody because we're going to get a whole lot of the people he didn't pardon. I think we should get Mayorkas. Federal crimes only. That's true. Nuke the filibuster. What if he pardons Maxwell? He shouldn't, because she's a child abuser. And she's the only one that we got. The only one that we got behind bars. The other one died. Here's more.
It's strange, Dean, to go back to the original sort of part of this conversation of whether he is a good deal maker. I mean, in a way, it seems like the president is kind of getting what he wanted.
That's a Democrat on MSNBC, ladies and gentlemen. Is Trump a good deal maker? He just got everything he wants. In other words, this is about the shutdown. Trump won the deal. By the way, as president, which is the whole reason why he ran so hard, he got to pardon all of those alternate electors, which is also part of his deal. He's the greatest deal maker in presidential history.
40 days ago, when all this started, he was out there saying that, oh, this is all about Democrats trying to give health care to illegal immigrants. He just said that to reporters moments ago, repeated that refrain that Democrats had actually very successfully pushed back against. Then there's all this energy. In the wake of the election on Tuesday, the president made remarks saying basically, wow, Republicans are being harmed by all of this, acknowledging that he was on his back foot. And now here he is winning again? How did he do it?
Now here he is winning again. Republicans were on their back foot and Trump's already winning again. We're going to go into how this whole thing was about a giant news cycle. That's the biggest thing the Democrats are guilty of, guys.
The Democrats, I don't understand how a Democratic senator goes, wow, we won really big. Let me cave now. I don't understand. That makes no sense to me.
Well, maybe if to be, to Anthony's point, if they were cynical, like if we wanted just to hold this out until we get through the election, and then after the election, we got the wins, let's.
Yeah, that's the Democrat plan. We're just going to hold it through the election. Hold on one second. How did MSNBC get a time machine and grab Be Hizzy from 30 years from now? It's Be Hizzy in 30 years, everyone. Look, MS on the right there. MSNBC has a time machine. Okay, wait, there's more. This is Senator Chris Murphy. The pre-Senate deal to open the government. Trump is starving kids. That's what he wrote here in this tweet. So here's where we are Sunday morning. Trump is trying to starve hungry kids in order to bully Democrats into abandoning our fight against healthcare premium increases. So Trump is starving kids in order to deny families healthcare. Dystopian, Chris Murphy says. Murphy, 12 hours later, opposing the deal to open the government. So first he blames Trump, and now he has the opportunity to vote for reopening the government yesterday, and he doesn't vote to end starving families and denying them health care.
I didn't want this shutdown. I want it to end, but not at any cost. And of course, I wish that there was a path to saving this democracy and saving people's health care that didn't involve pain. This shutdown hurt. It did. But unfortunately, I don't think there is a way to save this country.
In other words, you starved the people. He's admitting complete guilt here, guys. The Democrats shut it down. The Democrats used the hurt and suffering and starvation of the poor to pull it off. Don't let that get past them. They did this and they didn't have to do it, and they got caught. They blinked. Here's Tim Kaine, who voted for it. Once again, this is what's funny. Look at this lunatic. Look at this lunatic. He looks like a mad scientist here. He's going to say he didn't even know why they were voting to keep the government shut down. In his own words, Tim Kaine, almost the vice president.
Do you wish that you would have started looking for this off-ramp sooner? You said that Republicans were never going to change in their position.
I didn't fully understand how dug in they were, again, because I was so focused on the Virginia elections. I wasn't in this discussion on the healthcare to see how dug in they were.
I didn't even know what I was voting on. I wasn't plugged in. I was focusing on the Virginia election. And then what? He started paying attention, so he voted to reopen the government. He's one of the 8 Democrats that peeled off.
But even as I was not part of these discussions, I was saying to Thune and others on the floor going back, listen, I need, some of you heard me say this in the hall, I need a moratorium on mischief. Others are working on the healthcare thing, I trust them. Others are working on the approach thing, I trust them. I need a moratorium on mischief, because if we vote to open and then the immediate step next week is Donald Trump fires a lot more people, it's going to blow up trust to get the full year deal. And so I've been
giving you a
pushing
hint.
this moratorium on mischief for a month.
He wants moratorium on mischief. That is what he's saying is Trump canning all of those government agents through Doge, which the Republicans, if they sign this deal, will agree to reverse all of the firings that Trump and Russ Vought did since October 1st. Why is that important with Tim Kaine? Tim Kaine said he was focusing on the Virginia elections, and Virginia is where all of those state workers live that got laid off by Trump. So he's going, all I want to do is open the government up and have a moratorium on mischief, which is to reverse the firings after October 1st. That's what purchased his vote, to go with Trump and stab Democrats in the back. Good. He can be bought, and we bought him. Wait, there's more. Johnny MAGA. Oh my God, Trump is recommending a $10,000 bonus for air traffic controllers who stayed on the job. Here's Trump shredding the government workers, the air traffic controllers. Trump, all air traffic controllers must get back to work now, all caps, now, go to work. Anyone who doesn't will be substantially docked. For those air traffic controllers who were great patriots, and I've told you guys this before, there's not a dollar sign next to a patriot. You work for free, always faithful, like a Marine, semper fi. You're faithful and you show up because it's not in the end about money. For those who were great patriots and didn't take any time off for the Democrat shutdown hoax, I will be recommending a bonus of $10,000 per person for distinguished service to our country. If you agree with that, in the chat below, tell us. The air traffic controllers, ATC, yes, give them a bonus. Write it in the chat. Give them a bonus. That's your vote. $10,000 for distinguished service to the country. For those that did nothing but complain and took time off, even though they knew they would be paid in full shortly in the future, I'm not happy with you, all caps. You didn't set up to help the USA against the fake Democrat attack. That was only meant to hurt our country. And there's all your chat now. Yes, give them a bonus. Give them a bonus. Hell yeah. You got to call out heroes. They're heroes. You will have a negative mark, at least in my mind. You'll get a negative mark in Trump's mind against your record. If you want to leave service in the near future, please do not hesitate to do so with no payment or severance of any kind. You will be quickly replaced by true patriots. That's what we need, is we get some MAGA patriots in the air traffic controllers who will do a better job on the brand new state-of-the-art equipment, the best in the world, that we're in the process of ordering. The last administration wasted billions of dollars trying to fix antiquated junk. They had no idea what they were doing. Again, to our American patriots, God bless you. I won't be able to send your money fast enough. To all others, report to work immediately, all caps. God bless the American president, Donald Trump. But wait, there's even more. Here's MSNBC's Morning Joe just said the quiet part out loud.
The Democrats is they took crime off the front page of every newspaper.
This is what they did with the shutdown. So Joe Scarborough's admitting the quiet part out loud. The Democrats only shut down the government, refused to fund it on the backs of the poor and these welfare moms that are supposedly in the Democrats' pocket. They want the freebies and the welfare. And the Democrats stabbed them in the back, shut down the government. Why? To take crime off of TV. Trump's lowering crime. The Democrats closed down the government just to end that news cycle and take the spotlight off of Trump's good work. That's not a Republican saying it, or a conspiracy theorist, or me. It's Joe Scarborough, MSNBC. He just admitted it.
And that was the story, and they turned it into health care.
That was the story. The story was Trump ending crime, and the Democrats flipped it to be about health care. Here's Greg Price breaking. The Supreme Court will take up the case of Watson versus the Republican National Committee, which will decide if mail-in ballots received after Election Day can be counted. And it's obvious that's going to lose in the Supreme Court. It's obvious there is an election day, and you do not count ballots mailed in after Election Day. That was opened up during COVID. That's why Joe Biden beat Trump, was because they were counting ballots 3 days after the election. And it was a special COVID thing going, people, there were delays. We have to open it up and be more lenient. And it just opened it all up for fraud. At least 18 states allow this, including Nevada, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina. Thank you for all your work. Thank you, Lulu. $10 super chat. Luvu, love you so much. With a Snoopy. I love Charles Schultz. Tuesday after the first Monday of November in certain years is the election day. For federal offices, like all other states, Mississippi requires that ballots for federal offices be cast, marked, and submitted to election officials by that day, not 3 days after. So it's postmarked by that day. And like most other states, Mississippi allows some of those timely cast ballots, mail-in absentee ballots in Mississippi's case, to be counted if they're received by election officials a short time after the day of election. Basically, that reverses what it just said about Election Day. So this is going to get overturned by the Supreme Court, or you have no election integrity. We have a lot more election integrity coming up here. Here's Harmeet Dillon. We followed her forever. We're huge fans of Harmeet Dillon. Of course, one of Trump's great members of his administration, works under Pam Bondi. She says in all caps, this is a big deal. The Supreme Court agrees to hear case over counting ballots that arrive late. They're going to overturn it, guys. I got some more Supreme Court news to come up. But first, here's Gavin Newsom on the Senate rules.
I worry now, though, that sounds like some of my colleagues and friends in the United States Senate, some of my Democratic colleagues just decided that we're playing by the old set of rules.
Oh, the old set of rules is why those 8 flipped. Gavin Newsom's playing by a new set of rules, which is you do not serve the people and you starve the poor. He's upset that they're playing by the old set of rules. Now, I've said that about Rand Paul and fiscal conservatives who are rhinos, that if you're still playing the fiscal conservative rules, that is, you're in a boxing match with the Democrats, and the Democrat comes up, and right in the middle of the match, they kick you in the groin. They kick the Republican in the groin, below the belt, which is illegal. And the Republican fighter is losing. 3rd round, they're losing. And then they get kicked in the groin again. The fiscal conservative is the one going, we have a constitution, we're fiscal conservatives, and we play by the rules. Trump, after getting kicked in the nards 3 times in the 4th round, turns around, draws back his shoe, and kicks the Democrat in the groin. And then it's the fiscal conservatives, the Rand Pauls, that go, hey, you're not playing by the old rules. Now and Trump goes, that's right, I'm playing by the new rules. Biden, you pardon a bunch of your cronies, and I pardon the alternate electors. Those are the new rules. I didn't make up the rules. You made up the rules. Gavin Newsom's angry. There's Democrats still playing by the old rules. He's saying, get with the game, guys. Kick them in the groin. Shut down the government on the backs of the poor. The media will carry our water and do propaganda for everybody. Those are the new rules.
The new set of rules. It may have rolled over.
They rolled over
a little bit. So I love your question. It's the right question. I want to be part of that answer as an American citizen.
Look at those imbecilic hand gestures. Hand salad, we call it. Not word salad, it's hand salad. His gestures mean nothing. I like the way now I sit like a Californian too. Look at that. That's a tight leg cross. That's a Californian if I ever saw one. This guy, he has the body posture. That is not the body posture of a world leader, guys. This is the body posture of the Human Resources Department. Yeah, he's doing heart hands, says a member, our members.
Not as a governor, as the ex-governor of California, but right now we've got to hold the line because I think America will become unrecognizable in a year or two unless we fight back.
Unrecognizable in a year or two, boy. I hope so. I hope we're unrecognizable from the Biden America. Well said, Gavin. I'm with you. We want it unrecognizable in 2 years. People, you can tell me in the chat below, in what ways do you want America to change to make it unrecognizable? Like no same-sex marriage, no abortion. How about no government corruption? How about no auto pen? How about no mail-in ballots? If you want paper-only ballots, would that change everything? How about no counting ballots after Election Day? That would come. You would not recognize America if you could not count back. If you had voter ID, you would not recognize America in 2 years. I like that idea. Now, here's on the Democrats just being mean SOBs. So this is Bill Maher. That's not Bill Maher, actually. That's RFK Jr.'s wife. Cheryl Hines. You guys may recognize Cheryl Hines. She played the wife of Larry David in Curb Your Enthusiasm. She's an actress who's married to RFK Jr. Hardcore Democrat. And here she's going to tell you everything you need to know. This is, again, I'm not calling the Democrats mean and anti-Christ. She's going to make my case for me.
The Republicans have been very kind to me from the beginning. Even from the beginning when Bobby was running as a Democrat, they were...
Even when Bobby was running as a Democrat, they were nice. Why is she crossing her legs? Why does Gavin Newsom cross his legs like Cheryl Hines?
They weren't mean.
No.
And they never have been.
No.
And I can't say that for the Democrats.
I agree.
And
it's sad because it's not the Democrats we grew up with.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the difference that people don't, I think, see. They're like, why did you turn on the Democrats? Well, first of all, I didn't. Like I said, we voted for the same person. But I'm not going to pretend I don't notice how different they are.
Yeah.
How mean they've become.
Very mean.
Democrats are mean. Republicans are nice. That's the conclusion of this clip, guys. If you're a Republican, there's one thing that you know, that all my Republicans in the chat, one thing I know is that Republicans in general are nice. And if you're a Democrat in the chat, because we never put an X next to a Democrat, these two will both vote for Democrats. One thing I know about a Democrat is that you'll tend to be meaner than my Republican audience. There. I know there's a Democrat in my audience right now watching going, how can you say that? Well, sometimes the truth hurts. Okay, wait. There's more. Breaking. Trump puts the BBC on notice. Retract, apologize for false defamatory documentary or face a $1 billion lawsuit by Trump against the BBC. Let's look at the article here. 1 billion. So all he wants them to do is they can retract and apologize for the fake news. President Trump is seeking to hold BBC responsible for false, defamatory, disparaging, and inflammatory statements, giving the British broadcaster a Friday deadline to make things right or face a $1 billion lawsuit. That's this Friday. He's going to launch it if they don't retract or apologize. What did they say? The BBC's been engulfed in criticism over a BBC Panorama documentary about Trump's January 6th, 2021 speech that he delivered before the attack on the U.S. Capitol when he said, go over there and peacefully walk, patriotically walk. Critics believe the documentary was wildly misleading because it omitted Trump urging supporters to protest peacefully, just like Adam Schiff and Jack Smith said. They omitted that. Peacefully, peacefully. It's not he's not calling for an insurrection. If he says walk over and protest peacefully and patriotically. And the BBC Director General, Tim Davie, and BBC News and Current Affairs Chief Deborah Turness both stepped down in recent days. That's an admission of guilt amid the growing controversy. So they thought stepping down was enough. No, Trump's going after the BBC. $1 billion for defamation, false, defamatory, disparaging, and inflammatory statements. By the way, I hope this sets precedent in the international court. He can go after every country, but especially the BBC, which is a Marxist news network in the UK. It's their PBS. Here's the election wizard. Breaking: Trump administration's Memphis Safe Task Force locates 101 missing children in 40 days, according to U.S. Marshals. Trump in Memphis found 101 missing children enslaved in a dark room. Would you rather Trump find 101 more missing children today, or would you rather have him go after the Epstein files where there are no current missing children involved? You can tell me in the chat below. This does not have a correct answer. This is a matter of opinion. Would you rather Trump find another 101 missing children active today with duct tape on their hands, tucked away in some cellar somewhere, don't know where their mommy and daddy is right now, 101 of them? Or would you rather he spend his time on the Epstein files where there are no current victims? That's, now you guys know where my heart is. Mine is with those kids that are praying right now. And those kids, the greatest hope of their prayer being answered, of being rescued, is Donald J. Trump, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino. On the hunt. $5 super chat, go political. Great reporting, Doug. Do more Stephen A. Smith impressions soon. Long time pre-Exile subscriber. Love you, brother. Thank you, Carlton. God bless you. Go political, Carlton. Yeah, I'll try and find some Stephen A. Smith quotes. You know how I like doing Stephen A. Smith. The Democrats. Sounds like a Southern preacher. Here's Megan Basham. Now, this one is bad news in my view. Boo. The Supreme Court declines to hear the case on the constitutionality of same-sex marriage. And I'm angry. How dare you? Doesn't mean it's for political reasons. It could be they just don't have time on the docket, or it's low priority, or it's poorly argued. It could be a poorly formed case where they just go, this isn't the one, this case isn't strong enough to go after same-sex marriage. It's why Roe v. Wade, it took like 30 years for them to finally, 40 years for them to find the right case. You have to make sure that it is locked tight. Here's Megan Basham. The Supreme Court needs to know that this isn't going away. That's true. With more than a decade now to understand the harms that same-sex marriage has done to the rights of children, committed Christians are going to keep fighting for the fall of Obergefell, just as we fought for the fall of Roe. True. If it has to be a multi-generational fight, so be it. We will not tire. That is true. Because you cannot force Americans to recognize when you change the vocabulary of what the word marriage mean, which has always meant the marriage between two sexes. And now they change it to be the marriage between two people. That's the argument. Doesn't matter what you think of homosexuality. That is not making a moral statement about it. Only that the word marriage has always meant the marriage of two sexes and not two people. And if you can change the number of people involved in a marriage or the sex of a person involved in a marriage, you can change the number and you can legalize polygamy, and you can change the age of the people in it, and you can legalize something much worse. Here's Mike Davis. Trump loyalists, including lawyers following the case, say the investigation ultimately should examine what they believe is a far broader and long-standing Democrat conspiracy. We're going for seditious conspiracy. Mike Davis, our favorite guy at Article 3 Project, to undermine Trump by launching numerous investigations and prosecutions. That's the biggest one that's coming, guys. Quote, I think it goes all the way up to the top to, ready for this? President Obama, to Vice President Biden, to Hillary Clinton, to James Comey, to John Brennan, to Clapper. So many players within the Biden and the Obama and Biden administration. Mike Davis of the Article 3 Project, a pro-Trump conservative legal organization, told Fox News on October 12th, that was a month ago. Quote, and I think it also includes the lawfare Democrats. And by the way, I believe this has started back in October 12th. I believe the rolling out where they start gathering and putting the case together started in mid-October, and it's now mid-November. They've been working on this for a month. I think it also includes the lawfare Democrats, these prosecutors who coordinated with the Biden White House to bring these indictments against President Trump. That would be Fani Willis. That would be Letitia James. That would be Alvin Bragg. Davis and others point to federal judge who recently impaneled a new grand jury to convene January 12th in Fort Pierce, Florida, over the Mar-a-Lago case. That would be a good place to do this grand jury investigation for what they did to Trump, Davis said. The Mar-a-Lago raid is the hook. That's just where we start, guys. This is coming, and that's good news. Davis said his buddy, Redding Quinones, that's out of Florida, moved to impanel the grand jury after Davis pushed very hard to get him to investigate what he says is the conspiracy against Trump, Davis said in an October interview on the Charlie Kirk show. So he's already made it public statement that he's already pushed Redding Quinones to do the Mar-a-Lago, and now he's pushing to do a grand conspiracy charge. In August 2022, the FBI obtained a court order to search Trump's Mar-a-Lago home in Palm Beach, Florida, to look for classified documents he was refusing to return. Trump said he had personally declassified them. Davis and other Trump MAGA supporters say that gives the Justice Department the ability to use Republican-heavy South Florida to conduct the investigation away from what they believe would be a Democrat-leaning grand jury and trial jury in Washington, D.C. or its suburbs. Can we run? My question to you, the chat, you have to put on your thinking hat for a second. Can we run the grand conspiracy? Can we run the grand jury for that out of Florida using Mar-a-Lago as the introduction? While we have a grand jury there over the Mar-a-Lago documents, why not expand it, especially if that gets secured and the grand jury says go? Can we, I don't know this, but can we use the same grand jury to say, and we're doing a grand conspiracy investigation and run it out of South Florida instead of Washington, D.C.? Or, you know, basically we're shopping for juries, which I'm all for. What do you guys think? Can it be done? You're saying yes. Hope so. Absolutely. We're getting all good responses, all positive. Now, here's a believe no. Here's no more BS, please. No, I don't want to ever give you guys BS. So I like getting the counter arguments. He believes so. I'm wearing my glasses and everything's fuzzy. He has actually an agreement. Believe so. I'd love to hear a negative comment if anyone doesn't think so. Yeah, we're going to get them, guys. You ain't seen nothing. You know, everything was doom and gloom last week, and now everything's bright and sunny. We're going to get what did we learn today, ladies and gentlemen? $10,000 bonus for air traffic controllers that were loyal and kept their job. That means they were probably MAGA. Air traffic controllers going to get a bump. Grand conspiracy should launch in Florida. I believe they've been working on it for a month because Mike Davis has been pushing for the Mar-a-Lago documents, and they did it. And now he's pushing for a grand conspiracy. And are they doing it? I say yes, they're doing it. They have to put together a Loctite case. Bad news, the Supreme Court did not take up the same-sex marriage thing, but there's time for it. You have to get the right case, a powerful case, to ever be able to overturn something like that. It's going to require a lot of heavy lifting. Took Roe 40 years. The government's opening back up, and the Democrats are the biggest losers because what they agreed to, as MSNBC said, Trump didn't budge and he won. Trump is the master negotiator. The Democrats came out and admitted they did it on the backs of the poor. They said it in public. Tim Kaine didn't even know why he did it, why he was voting to shut down the government. He didn't even know. So Schumer blinked. His career's over. The radicals are going to, this is why, by the way, we predicted this. I got it from Jesse Waters and others, that they said after the election, they would open the government back up so that the Democrats wouldn't get punished by their radical left. Because if they opened the government up before that election of Mamdani, all the liberal radicals would go, we're not voting for you. We're boycotting you. We're boycotting the vote because you opened the government up, and we're against Democrats. That's why I am a Republican. I'm for Republicans. I vote for them. I want them to know that they will always have my vote. I will never put an X next to a Democrat, ever. I won't waste my time on an independent either. Third party, people getting 3%. We're in a battle for the country's life. I'm not going to mess around with third party. Sorry. I'm not here to punish individuals. I'm here to make the giant MAGA, Republican, conservative, patriot movement to work. Even Rand Paul and Thomas Massie, the only way I would vote for them is if someone went against them who could not win. If someone went against them who could not win, I got nothing for you. I only want to vote for winners. That's a Buckley rule. You have to vote for the most conservative candidate who can win. Who can win? Winning. You don't get anything by doing a protest vote and losing. No one learns anything. No one learns and goes, well, we tried this and it lost. Therefore, now I'm going to keep doing that thing that caused that guy to lose. It never works in politics, guys. You cannot win by losing. You have to win by winning. That's the strategy. And I'm specifically pointing you guys to these strategies and training y'all on it because we're going to win the 2026 election. We have to fight harder than ever on 2026. I think actually the fight will be easier for J.D. Vance in 2028 against Gavin Newsom. The hard one is in an off year in 2026. We have to keep the House in Mike Johnson's hands. Mike Johnson and Thune. If they lose it, Trump will be impeached and the Democrats will throw him in prison. But that's not going to happen, guys. We're going to look, I've been talking to you. There's 3,500 people live on the show now. These episodes get up to 100,000 views if you will share the link to your friends. And if you will personally subscribe and share with your friends, send it to your sons and daughters, to your spouses, even to your parents, and say, you should subscribe to this guy. Because what I'm going to do is take 100,000 of you are in my core audience. 100,000 of you are active listeners. That's almost enough to influence any vote our country has had in the last 10 years because it's so close. If you guys all vote down the ticket, Republican MAGA, then we could dominate the election. We'll focus on swing states. We'll focus on key Senate runs, people in trouble, where to fund, where to vote. We'll have 100,000 votes to throw around between the states, 10,000 here, 10,000 there. Our little YouTube channel in Exile, I'm here to manipulate the election. I want votes. I want to advocate. Oh, Patty Carr, I love you too. I, of course, love all of you, and I pray for you guys all the time, especially for the people that suffer in my audience. I pray for you especially. I know there's a lot of people that do not have the means. You're trapped, you're stuck, you're injured. I have paraplegics that watch this channel, infirmed people, very poor people that are being evicted watching this channel. And I don't want it to, when I say we're happy patriots, I mean happiness is a discipline. It is not about your feelings. Happiness is an attitude, not an emotion. It's not everything's fine and I won the lottery and I'm eating cake right now and that's why I'm happy, I'm being pleasured. That I'm not talking about pleasure. I'm talking about happiness, which is virtuous thriving, and that's even when you're in pain and suffering. There is such a thing as happiness, even in, or there's a right way to suffer and there's a wrong way to suffer, I should say. There's a right way to suffer and there's a wrong way to suffer. And sometimes we're going to suffer no matter what. So if I have a choice, you know, if some guy's going to shoot me in the face, I'd rather be praising God than begging him for mercy. And on that happy note, we're going to save this country. We're going to march hand in hand. We're going to have a giant party in the meanwhile because I love being with you guys. And I can tell by the chat, you guys are enjoying us too. So on that happy note, 2 more videos coming later today. Make sure you watch them. Watch your feed. I'm Doug in Exile. Have a great day.